Mooney's a nice player, but they don't have a home run threat. Pettis is
Gotcha.
a nice complementary player. They don't have a home run threat out there, and they didn't have anybody that was just going to make Washington pay. And then on top of that, Justin Fields still getting his feet wet. Next week, though, it'd be a whole different story.
Hmm.
They're going to have to get pressure on Aaron Rodgers, of course. We'll talk about all that during the week, but
Woo. I know he's
but in
struggling, but
fairness
woo,
to
you
that,
mentioned Glenn.
Green
Aaron,
Bay
you're right.
doesn't have any weapons either.
Yeah. So I mean, in terms, so for Glenn, I'll ask you this question, Glenn. I've always, I put out the whole hashtag Fire Scott Turner. I'm part of that. Part of that campaign. Everybody knows that's how I roll. Um, your thoughts of his play calling? Like, to me, and before I wanted to add this, I thought this was the worst. This is the worst play calling I've ever seen of any off Washington Redskin commander coach ever. And we've had some bad ones, but this is the worst game period because this defense in Chicago was not good.
Now, defense in Chicago was, I think, some of the time he overthinks himself. I think he tried to outsmart the defensive coordinators. Right, when you have 3rd and 2 and you don't run the football, you have a 230-yard back there. Right, you go when you get down in the red zone and you 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1, then you want to run the football.
You're in the shotgun.
Right. then you sitting there as a fan or even as a journalist, you sitting there like, well, you just had a 3rd and 2 you didn't run, or you had a 3rd and 1 you didn't run. You try to or whatever case may be. Even with the which ones that stuck out to me the worst was that when they was on the goal line, late third quarter, when they had it was like from the 5-yard line, you run Carson Wentz. Why? I mean, you run zone read with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz zone. I know he's a big quarterback, right? But you run his
He's
zone
the slowest player on the field.
Slowest player, exactly.
Right, slowest player on the field, and you're gonna run zone. You got Samuels out there, you got Brian Robinson out there, and so like I told you before we started, they missed the rookie Jahan Dotson because if you look at the Washington offense this year in the red zone, he was the guy. The last 2 weeks, they've really struggled in the red zone. 1 for 3 tonight in the red zone. They missed Jahan Dotson, and they're not even looking for Terry in the red zone because he's not that red zone threat. He's a deep threat down the field, but he's not the red zone guy. So you're missing guys like Jahan, Logan Thomas, your tight ends. I am curious why he can't get J.D. McKissick involved in short yardage and in third down situations, even in goal line situations. I know they tried to go with him for him last week in Tennessee. Didn't work out. But I would have came back with J.D. McKissick this week because he has been money for the Washington offense in years with underneath Scott Turner.
So, Lake, I'll ask you a question because Jahan Dotson has been like key in the red zone. Do you feel like this team has definitely missed his playing his route running?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think not only have they missed him just in the red zone, but they've just missed the fact that he's smooth, as you said, route runner, can run all the things on the tree, but he's a guy that opens up a side of the field where now, not just Terry on the other side, but Curtis Samuel working underneath. And, you have one less player, you can kind of double team or shadow one of the other guys. And that's why you haven't seen Curtis Samuel over the last 2 weeks have that big, type of performances he's had over the first 3 games when Jahan was on the field. It was just so many compliments between the 3 of them. You didn't know who to cover. I mean, Terry wasn't getting the ball hardly in the first couple games. So now he's starting to get it. They're starting to kind of force feed him, which they should.
They should, yeah.
But I also wanted to say this too. Early in the game when you saw Carson Wentz looking at his tight end, Cole Turner, it was there. And it was there quite a bit tonight. I will say this from what I saw, Carson, he missed some throws. I mean, he missed some throws that were there to be had. Almost like he was shell shocked, and it's starting to become a little bit of a problem, to be honest with you, where he's just not throwing the ball as soon as he's supposed to. He holds on to the football, and that's been his Achilles heel for his career. Is trying to make the big play when just take what they're giving you, and the Bears forced them to keep everything underneath. They took away any deep balls tonight, so they forced him to throw his check downs to see if he could, I guess, be patient or something like that. And for the most part, he was. But there was some throws that he missed. He clearly missed, like his feet weren't set, and they've got to clean that up. I mean, you just can't have that from your starting quarterback who's a veteran.
And I had a question. Well, I'll go back. I'm gonna actually we'll tackle that. So Do you feel like, so like you've covered this team for a while, and I've kind of compared it to like the Patrick Ramsey effect, to a point where he's been hit so many times that now he's not looking at who's open, and like you said, looking at the running back in the flat who's wide open right there. He's so fixated on the rush that when it's time to actually make that look to the check down, it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, they knew some of his deficiencies when they went out and traded for him. I mean, he some of his passes sell. He's not the most accurate quarterback, but the biggest thing with Carson Wentz is, and I know this from a good friend of mine who was on Philly's coaching staff, he told me he gets fragile sometimes, and I'm starting to see a little bit of that right now, where the confidence isn't as high as you need it to be. And, but a lot of that's play calling too. Like Scott Turner is just not really dialing it up the way he should. Yeah. They're in a rut right now offensively, and they have too many weapons. I do think Brian Robinson coming back kind of opens it back up for them. Where they can run the ball. And I do like what I saw with the way they used Antonio Gibson a little bit.
Okay. McKissick, I have a question with that too.
Yeah, I agree with Glenn. McKissick needs to touch the ball more. Yeah. I mean, he's a burst every time he gets the ball. Yeah. Maybe there's too many weapons for Scott Turner. I don't know.
I'm starting to think that, because this is my issue with, even you mentioned Antonio Gibson. How long did it take? Because I was on Twitter saying that this needs to happen like now, like in the first and second quarter. Like, you got to split this up to a point where you need to have like that thunder and lightning approach, right? You got to have that approach. And it took you all the way to the late in the third quarter to utilize Antonio Gibson. You know this, like, I've wanted this team to have a better running back. I thought that Antonio Gibson was a guy that shouldn't be your feature back. But also at the same time, this dude is just coming off of, getting shot in the leg. You know what I mean? And you have an opportunity to have a guy who did have 1,000 yards with Antonio Gibson. You can have a dynamic running game if you just consistently do it that way. But you went that route only in the third quarter and beyond. You did that in the beginning. Maybe the outcome of this game wouldn't be as close.
Well, it just seems like they figure stuff out a little bit later, if they do figure it out at all.
Yes.
The changes come a little late. And you're right, it's a little off script when they do start figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
That's not the game plan they came in the game with. And, if anything, we all knew that, maybe Chicago's offense isn't that good, but we knew that they had a player on defense in the middle of that field.
Roquan.
Which, by the way, I always thought this team should try to trade for, but that's a whole nother story. He's a monster in the middle of the field. And a lot of the stuff they were doing was directed directly at him, which I was surprised with. And then when they started running the ball, it started wearing Chicago down a little bit. And, let's face it, guys, we all know this. What's the best way to get your offensive line in tune with the game?
Run the football, man.
Run the football, man. Let them get lathered up. Let them get a feel for the game.
Yes.
And you don't have to get instant results, but if you can stay with it consistently, over time, they'll start to get their feet under them. And we saw that, matter of fact. I actually think this combination that they threw out today might have been the best line play that they've had all year.
Yes.
Wentz wasn't besieged as much under pressure, but they definitely leaned on Chicago as far as in the run game, late in the game. And, those are the things that they're going to have to hopefully, bag it up and keep that as part of what their trademark's going to be, because this is a football team that has no identity whatsoever on offense. We don't know what they're trying to accomplish. So hopefully it's the running game now.
Go Glenn. Go ahead.
I said that every week. They don't have an identity. They don't know what they want to become. They don't know what they want to run the ball, throw the ball. Last week only had 12 rushes for 43 yards. Take out Wentz and stuff. This week, I think with everything that Wentz has gone through this week, I think Wentz is mentally shot. As George said, but also got to look at what he goes to too. This is a contract year for Wentz. This is a moneymaker. This is a make or break in this city for Carson Wentz as an NFL starter. And now you add pressure onto that. It's much pressure on him now and so when you start pressing as a quarterback, that's when you start missing the smart read, and you try to play safe with the ball because you don't want to throw another interception. You don't want to make the mistake. You don't want to put the game on your shoulder. And he's a veteran, but yet at the same time, that's why he's pressing.
Yeah.
So well, like I know you pressed for time before I let you go, my man. I have like just one for my listeners. Do you have any positives out of this game for you? Like, what is your positives? And then you can just roll out.
Defense, man. You know, Montez Sweat is balling right now,
Okay.
and we've been waiting for that for 3 years. You know,
Yeah.
so he's put it together. The defensive line as a whole has really stepped up, and they're making their presence felt. I mean, they've been disruptive over the past several games, and you just hope that can continue. And then you get a guy like Chase Young to come back and add to that. So defensively, I know a lot of us have been calling for Jack Del Rio's head, but something's clicking right now, and you rather take that than not. So that's a positive. The run game is a positive when it's consistently called. It's a positive. And they're competing. You know, they're not good. Let's just call it like it is. You know, but they're competing, and that's all you can ask for. I mean, the only way you can get better is to compete, and hopefully the results will start to turn your way. But they got some tough games coming up, so we're gonna learn a lot about this over the next 3 games for sure.
I will say this: they're competing on defense.
I mean, they're trying to compete on offense, but
I don't know what that is. I can't call that competing late.
Play calling, it handcuffs them, man. I mean, you can't be inside the red zone and you trying
I agree.
Bootleg Carson.
I don't know what that was.
I
don't know what that was.
And look, go back a couple weeks ago against the Eagles inside the red zone, and you try to run a toss sweep to Logan Thomas. I'm coming off an ACL tear. I'm like, how can you outthink yourself on these things? Like this, there's got to be another guy that can run that.
Yeah,
but you go with the 2 slowest guys on your team to do something where you need a quick decision maker with the ball. It's just little stuff like that. You know, don't overthink yourself. If you didn't overthink yourself last week, you might be talking about 2-game winning streak.
Yeah, it'll be a sad one too with that. Hey, Lake, man, appreciate you being on. You know, is there anything you would like to add? You want to, drop your social, see what you got popping.
You can check me out on social media, on Twitter at Lake Lewis, Facebook, Instagram, Lake Lewis Jr. Of course, you can check us out on sportsjourney.com, and the social media for sportsjourney.com is sportsjourney.com. And you can check me out also on WAY.com from ABC morning anchoring. So yeah. Appreciate you, man. You know that.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Know that, man. You know what time it is.
Appreciate it, Lake.
All right,
Lake, man. Take care, man.
Later. All right, man. Get back to this conference. Okay.
Oh, I know, man. I appreciate you being on, man. Appreciate that.
Okay.
All right. So, Glenn, I'm gonna ask you then. What are your positives, man, in this game?
Positive is they did run the ball more.
Okay.
That's one positive. Defense is playing better, but I kind of disagree with Lake a little bit. I know he had to run.
Yeah.
Montez Sweat's sacks or pass rushes are against young guys.
Yeah.
They're against young. I mean, he's supposed to take advantage of young guys, right?
Yeah.
And so he took care of a rookie tonight. Last week he had a young tackle as well, and so let's not be fooled by what we see.
Yeah.
Right, because he's supposed to do that against the young,
dominate lesser competition.
Competition, right? He's supposed to do that. He's supposed to be the guy. Let's see him do that here in a couple weeks when they play a Green Bay and those teams where their offensive line a little bit better. We know that the Chicago Bears offensive line is not that good, but they still gave up a lot of this defense. It was a make or break defense, right? They didn't break, right? They didn't break. Because easily, I agree with George. George made a comment earlier. This team easily could be. I'm gonna put it up. This team 0-6.
0-6. I agree. Yeah. George says, the De'Ami Brown bootleg didn't last. I know wide receiver was going to produce tonight. I'm in awe of how awful this team is, and they are 2-4. They are so close to 0-6. Oh, I agree. But Glenn, continue, man.
Yeah, they're so close to 0-6. You know, again, I told you guys thing on Sunday. The special teams kills me, right? There's no kickoff returner. There's no punt returner. And then every time we kick a field goal, you holding your breath, right? You held your breath tonight. I was sitting there. I was on the phone when the field goal team rolled out there, and I'm looking at I think I was on the phone. I think he's gonna miss.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna miss. I was hoping he would go through the uprights, but then when he kicked it out, he missed. And I'm looking here like, okay, it's a minute 52. You got Justin Fields. The Bears haven't really moved the ball that much, but it almost this close, right? This close to being heartbroken. The defense to me didn't play. There was some series on the defense where it looked like the defense stopped, right? Holcomb is reaching out. They're not tackling. They're not finishing the tackle.
Not finishing the tackles.
They're not finishing the tackle, which led to the touchdown, right? The touchdown drive that the Bears had. Washington benefited tonight because they played a team that was worse than them.
Yeah, I mean, what I'll say is, I've said this about Montez Sweat. I felt like he was always close. He was getting held a lot. You know what I mean? In this game, he didn't have a sack, but he had to count it. To me, he had similar, and people won't notice it. But he had similar impact than he had in the Jacksonville game. Like Jacksonville game, he pretty much caused the interception to force to win the game. So he's had plays, he's made plays. He just hasn't had sacks with it. I would have liked him to get a sack in the game, but I knew he was disruptive. But to me, like the MVPs of this team on this front, and I think Sweat is coming around in terms of putting his stamp on things, but the MVPs have been Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. Like those two boys have been amazing, and Obata has been amazing. Like his pressure, and it's a guy that I know, like just by listening to play by DMV personality. Washington Redskins Commanders personality, Rick Doc Walker, he was talking about Obata in camp, like how much he liked this kid. And to me, it just shows you how some people outside can kind of know what talent is, because to me, this kid should have been on the day one roster. But he played, instead of being on the practice squad. But this dude balled, and you can see it. He flashes. He really does flash. In terms of me, the positives, special teams to a point where you have the fumble and the recovery to actually win the game. You know what I mean? Like it was a great punt by, what's the punter's name again? I'm having a moment right now, my guy.
Trustway.
Thank you, my man. Trustway. So Trustway and the MVP of the squad, bro. Like Trustway continues to do this. Like puts his team in a position to win football games. Puts his team in a position to win a field position battle. He did a great job. To me, that's a positive. Brian Robinson, 17 carries, 60 yards. 1 touchdown, getting acclimated, being a workhorse, being physical, getting that Chicago's Bears front seven a little tired. You saw that. But like you said, Glenn, like I was scared for that kick. I thought they should have punted it, to be honest with you. I was like, you could pin it with no timeouts. You can get Justin Field at the 5-yard line with no timeouts, and he has to march the whole way down.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll take that. I know it's a field goal. I'll take that.
Yeah, but you see, they almost gave up that because they wouldn't tackle him on the run. I mean,
I knew, but see, to me, when you give them in the 50-yard, when you put them at the 40, because you miss a kick, you're in decent field position. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it don't take that much, especially with like a minute and some change. It don't take that much, and you got to know who your defense is. You know what I'm saying? Like if you have like the Buffalo Bills defense, you can get away with it, right? Like just be honest, you can get away with that. But you don't. You have a defense that is like a bend but don't break defense. That's what they are. They're not a defense that's going to bring. You're going to take the risk and bring pressure and say, you're not going to get any yards on us. We'll allow you to get this, but we're not trying to give up the big play. So, but when you have a mobile quarterback, that kind of changes. You know what I'm saying? And Justin Field,
you got to put a linebacker or somebody on him to be accountable for the quarterback.
Mm-hmm. So it's just a situation where it has to be. But in terms of like the positives, I'll give him that. But in terms of the negatives, what are your main negatives in this game? Like your main negatives, bro?
99 yards from the quarterback. You had a quarterback who has thrown for over 300 yards most of the season in games, and tonight he didn't barely throw for 100. And it's not because you ran so tremendously more. All right, you only had 214 total yards of offense. 214 total yards of offense, which in most NFL teams, some teams have that before halftime, right? Have that before halftime. And so you got to escape Chicago with a win. I take the win, enjoy the win, celebrate the win, but know that you won. You escaped with the win by a yard. Let's say by a forearm, you escaped the win. Right? You got the win by a forearm. Because how many y'all? I mean, I know everybody, and if you were watching Commander, you was holding your breath on that 4th down play.
I was like, "What's happening?"
You're holding
like, "What's happening?"
And we can have a different conversation here. But one thing that this defense did do. Chicago was 0-3 in the red zone.
Yeah, They made some flash plays. You got the interception for Jonathan Allen. Like again, Jonathan Allen's like the MVP. Like he's doing it all. Playing hurt, coming back in the game. But yeah, they won the turnover battle. They haven't done that all year. You know what I mean? They haven't done it all year, to be honest with you.
And penalties were less this day.
They were less. They were definitely less.
There were less penalties. Yeah. They only gave up 7 penalties for 36 yards. So it wasn't no double digit penalty for the Commanders team.
Yeah, I think overall, like defensively, I'm gonna give them credit. Like I said this on Twitter. Jack Del Rio gets a lot of negative attention. All right, it is what it is. But we're just gonna be honest with what we're watching. Yeah, there are players that give up plays or whatever, but we're gonna be honest. Like his unit has improved.
Yes,
it has improved. Are we saying they're living up to the ability that they have on the football field? I don't think they are. But we're trying to talk about gradual improvement. That unit is improving.
Yes.
And going into this season, we know like they've been built over the years defensively. They've been built over the years to be a strong defense, like in terms of the draft, who they brought in. But a lot of talk was the offense was going to be so much better than this defense after what people saw at camp, what they thought in preseason, after the first game of the season.
Yeah.
And all the weapons that we talk about having Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. Now we're finally having we finally have both of them in the same game.
Right.
They only scored 12 points. All right. Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Carson Wentz, who's a better quarterback than the quarterback they had last year. I don't care what all y'all talking about Taylor Heineke. Y'all gotta stop. Taylor Heineke ain't the one.
Yeah.
But and it's the offense the offense has regressed. It hasn't gotten better. It's about the same. We're in year 3 of it, man. We're in year 3, and I gotta I'm a preach and vent. Like this hashtag Scott Turner thing was fire. Scott Turner thing was. I was having fun with it at first. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was having fun, but now this is serious. This is real. Like this is like one of the worst offensive minds I've seen in DC, and I don't even like to say that. I feel like to give him the name Turner because even to be honest with you, I'm one of very few to say like Norv Turner as an offensive coach. He was a head coach here, but his offense, I never had an issue with his offense because he got the ball up and down the field. Running the football with Terry Allen. He had Michael Westbrook, Albert Cano, Jamie Asher. He made it work with those individuals. Ran the football. His son is totally different. He ain't a new age Noah Turner. He's definitely lesser. He's lower. He's not that good. He's not a good coordinator. All right, like he's bad, and you could tell because defenses know what this team is doing. That is a problem, And then even when you listen to the broadcast, Fitzpatrick said that Scott, the offensive coordinator, doesn't adjust well to his talent, so he doesn't game plan for his talent. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that the job of an offensive coordinator?
Right.
Go ahead, Glenn. I'm sorry.
No, you good, man. I just wanted to add to your point. He needs to stop scripting plays and fill the game. When you get an offensive coordinator, you got to get into a groove. It seems you watching Scott Turner and watch this offense never get into a groove. They never get into a groove. He never gets into a flow. That's one of the reasons why he tried to move to the box, right?
Yeah.
I understand this. He tried to move to the box and move a little bit higher and out on the field so he can see some more and see what kind of flow he was getting into. That was one of the things. If you don't watch the game, offensive coordinators want to go to the box so they can see the field, see how things are set up, get the higher view, so he can be able to get into a flow call and see what the defense has done. He hasn't been able to get in that flow, and it's been 2 weeks since he has been in the box. He started the season on the floor, on the field for the last 2 Tennessee games, as well as this game. He's been in the box, and it has not worked for them offensively.
It hasn't. Terry McLaurin, to me, I don't care what anybody says, one of the best wide receivers in football. Four catches for 31 yards. That's ridiculous. It is. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you watch games where the Minnesota Vikings, I'm not saying that, he's not Jefferson, but look how they force feed him. Look how they literally force feed him. Look at Cooper Kupp, how they force feed him. Like, when you Diggs in Buffalo force feeding them. Even the Dallas Cowboys is how I criticize CeeDee Lamb. They force feed CeeDee Lamb, who to me is still learning to be a number one. Like it gets to a point where you just like you gotta force feed your dogs. Like you gotta put them in positions to get these big plays. You know what I mean? Take these big shots. I mean, this is a guy with 4.3 speed who gets open. Why cornerbacks do PI him? We saw it in this game. Like he gets open. It's not like he doesn't get open. And even if he's getting double teamed, scheme some things out where you get him in space where he's not getting double teamed. Put him in the slot a little bit more so he can kind of get in free space. But you're putting, obviously you want to put Curtis Samuel, but sometimes switch it up. Put him in the slot. You know, put him in that situation where Curtis Samuels is at. So he can get that situation, he can get that matchup. But you don't. You know what I mean? Like everything's so structured. Like there's so many, like the pass that Curtis Samuels dropped, the touchdown that he dropped, that Carson threw on the dime. You could put Terry in that situation. Like try to get your best players to work. Like I know that Curtis Samuels has been rocking in certain, you know, in slottish roles. He was rocking early in the season, to be honest with you.
Right.
He hasn't been rocking since like that, like he was in that Jacksonville game.
But Scott Turner seems to get him more involved in plays.
Then Terry, right? Yeah.
It seems like Curtis is more involved in the offense and more things of scheme for him than it is for Terry McLaurin.
Yeah. And I think that's a problem. Like I think that's a serious problem. I would, if you're worried about if Terry is getting bracketed outside, getting doubled, then just put him in the slot. My man, the real Rook said we got lucky. We looked horrible. I agree. We looked terrible. Like we looked like the worst, one of the worst NFL teams, man. I'm serious. Like that was not. This reminded me of Jim Zorn's Washington Redskins. Be honest with you. That's why I rock the Redskins hat. Like this is like I'm rocking old school things, man. Like it was that bad. And actually, I would argue to say this is worse than that team because I feel like this team is more talented in terms of all around. It's more talented. Like this is a more talented unit offensively with the weapons they have, and they can barely score. And we're talking. I was telling Glenn, this is the modern NFL where you got bad teams that's put up 20. Like this team over the last some odd weeks has struggled to score in the first half, has struggled to score all game. Like like when I mean fire Scott Turner, like I'm serious now, man. Like this dude got to be out of here. If I'm Ron, if I'm Andy Washington, Commander reporter, seriously, you got to ask a question straight up. Like, are you satisfied with Scott Turner's play calling? Like, I'm not saying fire. You got to say you can fire him, but put that question out there. Are you satisfied with Scott Turner's play calling? And if Ron says yes, then you already know what time it is. You know what I mean? But I'm just telling you, like, he has to be singled out. He has to be singled out. You said all the things you were saying, well, they requires creativity and willingness to bend your offensive philosophy. Turner isn't experienced enough or capable enough to do that. I agree with you, George. I definitely agree with you, man. Like it doesn't like you shift your like if somebody is eating in a situation in a place where your dog can eat, like your best player can eat, shift it, switch it. You do like real talk. You do this in video games, right, Glenn? You play Madden, right?
Yeah.
You see that like on Madden. I'm joking around. I'm using video games. Like say. I'm gonna go old school. Cause I'm old school. Like I'm an old school Redskin fan. You say yeah, like the Darnarian McCants is killing in the inside, right? Darnarian McCants ain't my best wide receiver. No. Yeah, I'm not gonna use Darnarian McCants in that situation. No. I may use it in that time. Let's say I have Deshaun Jackson or somebody. I use Deshaun Jackson on that slot. I'll put him inside and let Deshaun take it. You know what I mean? Like I'll let him take that because I know he got it. Or if I had Pierre Garçon, he would be in that situation, so he could go. I'm not gonna showcase Darnarian McCants. I'm like, he may get 10 yards, but I know if I switch that role, that 10 yards could be a touchdown.
Yeah.
Why not? That's what I'm saying. Like Terry is versatile enough to can work inside, outside. If I know I got a favorable matchup outside, I'll switch Curtis Samuel, make him the dummy player, and I have now I have scary Terry on the inside to do damage. Or if I wanted, there's times where I could be creative enough to say, shoot, I can have Terry on the inside, Diami on the outside, Curtis like Jahan, when you get Jahan on the other outside, and maybe I may have Curtis Samuels on like a running back, and on the slot I got Terry on the slot. Boom! I got so much versatility because Curtis could be a gadget running back. Right. There's so much you can do. You can put all these dudes on a freaking field together. You know what I mean?
You need to learn how to scheme them open.
Yeah, like you don't even have to. Yeah, because you see what's happening. Like Terry is getting attention. Like he's getting attention. Like he's getting people roll coverage. This is what's happening, right? I'm gonna put you in the slot, and you can't. It's hard to double on the slot.
the problem with this team is this: they got to win tonight. Got some extra days to rest.
Yeah.
This is where Scott Turner needs to take these extra days and understand what his offense can do. Take these extra days, sit down with Carson Wentz, sit down with the receiver, sit down with O-line. Take these extra days and learn where can we get better. Because you got Green Bay coming into town, right? And we know Green Bay is not what they've been. They're
not playing good football either. But
right now, this team can actually sneak out and win against Green Bay if they come in and play football and have to put points. You're not going to be Aaron Rodgers with 12 points.
No, but that's not even real 12 points though. That's the problem.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Football game with field goals. The team definitely has to learn how to this offense that they have, defensive coverage, and be fine with taking 4 yards, 5, 16
I agree. That's my problem. That's why I want.
There's nothing wrong with that. Don't have to be explosive. Don't have to hit the Jahan Brown downfield. Don't have to hit the Terry McLaurin down the field. Let Brian Robinson, let Antonio Gibson, let William, all these guys drive the ball down the field. If you want to build a confidence of Carson Wentz, get long drives so he can hit the tight end like he did tonight when he hit Cole Turner. Do those type of things, and this Washington team will be much better. But again, it starts with the offensive coordinator, Scott Turner, and also start with Ron Rivera telling Scott Turner, this is what we want to do. And this is
and I agree with you. My man Erickson, let me give Wentz a pat on the back. Great blocks, 2 games in a row. Looked better tonight. I will say this. This is the one thing I do like about Carson Wentz. I like dogs, man. I tell you, I like dogs. And I like that he's willing to put his body on the line. He don't care, like, I'll block a linebacker or a D lineman for my running back. If I'm a player, like, I see why you would have his back. He said, my man, the real Rook says, Wentz taped his rabbit foot in his sock, had a 4-leaf clover in his helmet. We got too much talent offensively to barely score once, and the field goal kicker almost cost us the game. Look, man, that kicker has shown you who he is. He has shown you who he is in terms of inconsistency. But in terms of Carson, I like, if I'm a player, when I see a play like that, like, you get my respect. Like, I would give you my respect. But on the flip side, you still gotta do your job throwing the football, man. You gotta do your job throwing the football. And to your point, Glenn, I think that strategy is great. I would like really coach Carson to a point where say, you know what, take the check down. Like, let's have these long, sustainable drives. Instead of worried about going deep, have these long, sustainable drives. Because if you can do that, I mean, you can get some points. I mean, Tom Brady made a living off doing that for like years, man. Like, there's no ego in football, man. Like, take what the defense gives you. You don't have to like look for, scary Terry McLaurin to go free or Jahan Dotson to get free. Take what they give you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you do that, you have a good chance to like move the football and make plays. Then everything else opens up.
It does. And like I said, most of the check down guys are guys explosive too, like a J.D. McKissick, like a Larry Thomas. Those guys, I mean,
or Antonio Gibson,
Curtis Samuel, who you can play in the backfield. Those guys, if you go to your check down, those guys are explosive, fast guys as well. So guess what? Recognize and use them, man. Look, Heineke used them a lot last year.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I'm not saying that. I'm not
saying.
I'm jumping on that bandwagon and Heineke, but I'm just using that for the example.
Yeah.
He was able to use the check downs. Carson Wentz used check downs in Philadelphia. He knows about the tight end. I mean, Zach Ertz has one of his best careers on it. Career underneath Carson Wentz. So it's not know how to use something he doesn't know how to do. But I don't know how much is Scott Turner being in his ear as he's playing the game.
Well, you could tell like this team, even with Scott Turner last season, he does like to he likes to move the football down the field. Like, he likes to take chunk plays. You know what I mean? You could see even with Taylor Heineke at times where his arm wasn't going to allow him to make some of these big throws, these big throws. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, to me, it's just something that has to get fixed. Because I feel like the defense has played the kind of football that can help you win football games. I'm not gonna say they're owning games, but they're winning football. They're playing football. They're playing the way you need to win a football game or two. You know what I'm saying? They keep you close. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I said that you keep this defense fresh, you'll get a good outcome. You know what I mean? You'll get a good outcome. I actually have this question for you, Glenn, because I kind of posed this on Twitter. This is before, thinking that this team was going to lose this game, to be honest with you. But I'll put it out there. If, like, this team, this season continues to go, like, left, right? Would you even want to have Chase Young come back?
No.
All right, thank you. You agree with me. But why? Why? I want to hear your point. Why?
Because I want to make sure he's 100% healthy.
Yeah.
We saw look what happened with Saquon Barkley when he came back not 100% healthy, right?
Yep.
He wasn't able to produce for the team. Now look at a healthy Saquon Barkley now, and look at that team.
Yeah.
All right, so if you was able to settle that guy and set him out, if I'm watching, if I get a losing record, right?
Yeah.
And we're down in the season, and we get to about week maybe 13, 14, we're losing. I'm shutting Chase Young down if he ain't injured again.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think
I want to be able to. This is my investment.
Yeah, I don't think it's a need to play him if he's not 100%. Like, I mean, I see he's gonna be 100%. So this is my thing. You're going to be 100%. Like, when they say they clear you. But it's all about it's the mental, right? And it's also, so to me, it takes you 2 years to get back from the ACL. Like, they say it's a year, but it's really like 2, unless you're like Adrian Peterson, which that dude's a generic freak.
Yeah,
but you takes you about like, and then he took, my man said, George says, I agree with you both. What's the point of bringing Chase back at a 2-6 or 2-7 season? I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like, what's the you to bringing him back? Sit him out another whole year. Basketball players do it. My man Dennis Bell shaking my head. Like, basketball players do it. Like, nowadays they learn to kind of sit you out another. If it's not working and the team isn't doing too well, they have no problem sitting the players out for another extra year.
Shut him down. Make sure he's 100% healthy.
Yeah.
Make sure it's good. Hold him out another week. Extend it a week or two.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to give these other guys the opportunity to play.
Yeah.
Chase is going to get his money regardless. And just get 100% healthy.
Yeah. I don't get the whole thing about he has to play for what? For your light, for your acknowledgement, like fans and no, just sit him out. If you're not playing for contention, you know what I mean? I'm keeping this a buck. Like, what are you really playing for?
Right.
You play to win, bro. Like, you didn't play win
games. I mean,
yeah, man. Like,
anything happened in this division tonight was the NFC week, NFC win. So, I mean, you may have shots. This team could go on a run. We never know.
Yeah.
Like Lake said, we could be talking about the Washington Commanders being.
Yeah, if they had won,
they beat Tennessee, and we can talk about them being on a
2-game win streak.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. I feel like, but that's how, this team coached this up. Now it's to a point where, it's hopefully, and I'll say this, I'm gonna be hard on Scott Turner. This is what I'm gonna do now. Like, from now on, this is what it is. Like, I'll try to be nice, but I'm not gonna do that no more. It gets to a point where now we're gonna have to see, is he willing to say, you know what? Offensively speaking, as a passer, I'm not clicking, but I can still run the football, especially to that left side. That left side was mean. Can I run the football? Will I be willing to run the football? And not with just Robinson, man. Like, that can't just be the formula. You got 3 to 4 backs that you can kind of tote that rock. Man, you get a ball to Robinson. You get a ball to Gibson. You get a ball to McKissick. If you want to put this is Williams? Yeah, Jonathan Williams. If you want to run the ball with Jonathan Williams, run the ball with Jonathan Williams. You got 4 dudes that we've seen so far this season that can be productive for you run the football. Not to say and they all and we saw, and again, I'm not comparing any of the backs to Jonathan Taylor for the Indianapolis Colts, but I'm saying if you can utilize 3 to 4 of those dudes, you can have an impact to make it easy on Carson to a point where he doesn't have to kind of feel like it's all on him. George again says, don't do that. This is a pretty bad team, whether they were 2-4 or 3-3. Same for the Bears, who would have been 3-3 if they had won. That's true. No one's saying that this team is good, George. We all know this team is horrible. I'm gonna say this team is one of the worst football teams in the NFL. I feel like they beat the Bears, so they're better than the Bears. I feel like this team is probably one of the 3 worst teams in the NFL. If that's fair to say.
Yeah.
So, offensively, I do think,
but that's fair to say.
They're probably the second worst offense.
We're in week 6 of the season, right? And we have not seen any improvement in the offense.
That's what I'm saying, man.
It's week 6. At least we said it. We saw defense improvement. Washington came out for 28 against Jacksonville, and everybody was like, hey, we're going in the right direction. Right?
We're the best offenses. Hey.
24 points against Detroit. Right? For the last 3 or 4 weeks, this team has not been able to sustain that. And has not been able to
because you're a coach. You know what happens. Like, people, you do your research. People, you got tape on you. They know what you're going to do. You know what I mean? That's the thing. And you got to. This is what, and this is why I hate when people used to say this guy, was a genius or he was one of the up and coming offensive minds. bro, when people have tape, they counter, they adjust. Like that's what good minds do. You know what I'm saying? Like this, I'm gonna say this again. This coordinator is playing chess when the whole league playing. I mean, this court playing checkers and the whole league playing chess. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what it is. Like it has to get to a point where if I'm Ron, I'm gonna solidify for this dude. I'm like, hey, you know what? You're not capable of doing what I need you to do with this talent. You're not capable. So I probably can't fire you, though I would consider making the quarterback coach the new offensive coordinator. If I was Ron Rivera, I would consider it because it can't get any worse than this. Because I'm a firm believer, like, folks are like, well, they don't got anybody on the staff. It can't get worse than this. No. Can it really?
I think the problem is with this team. You can't. They're flowing in their season, and the week bye is not till week 14.
Yeah.
If you had a bye in the middle of like week 6, week 7, I would agree. Hey, maybe we can get rid of somebody, bring offensive coordinator in. He has a week to get this team together. Yeah. But they're gonna have to ride Scott Turner out.
I think they have to. I agree with you. I think in terms of realistically speaking, they have to ride it out. But if I'm Ron Rivera and the way it's going, I don't know if it's any worse. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know if you can get any worse than this. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know, because even like to me, like me watching the game, and I'm just watching as a fan, and I'm literally sitting the first half like, why are you oversaturating Robinson? Like why are you utilizing Robinson so much? Right. And I'm like. And you're not even looking at Gibson. Like you're not even trying. Like you didn't even try it. It's just Robinson. Then I'm like, this is not like any football that you watch. And we talking about a dude who ran over 1,000 yards last year. Any football that you watch, like it's better unless you got that dude, right? Unless you got that dude, you're gonna split carries to a certain extent.
You have to split carries.
Yeah, and I'm like, yo, run Gibson. Like, this is good for Gibson. This is the way you want to use Gibson. This is the way you want to use him. It's like when the Saints had like Reggie Bush and Deuce McAllister, right? You know what I'm saying? Or Ingram and Kamara with the Saints. Like, you want that type of, because now you got that running back who can run between the tackles and also catch the ball in the backfield and Gibson. But then you got that thumper in Robinson that can get you all the tough yards. So you're tiring out that defensive line.
It gives you a dual threat, and then you have choices to pick from.
Yeah,
when you get down to third and 2, you make an offensive coordinator try to figure out which weapon is he going to next, and not become one-dimensional.
Agree with you, man. But hey, man, this has been dope, man. It's always good talking to you, man. But again, the Washington Commanders beat the Chicago Bears 12-7. That's wild. An NFL game, 12-7 in today's NFL, man. Hey, shout out to Joey Slye, man. You made some kicks, but then you kind of. Now you are now in Washington Redskins lore as that inconsistent kicker. Like we all have, this team has always had one. You're now the new one. You know what I mean? Dustin Hopkins, that was Dustin Hopkins' role the last few years. Now you have that slot. And the dude almost missed the earlier kick. That's what gets you about Ron. The dude almost missed the kick before. That was like a 30-yard kick. And I'm like, dang, this is what we're doing. Like, you gonna trust this dude? It's crazy, man.
It's crazy. I mean, you figure Dustin Hopkins was one of the most consistent kickers we had.
They were scared about him. Yeah.
They were scared about him until his last couple years.
That's true. That is
I always remember, my thing is with him, and real quick, I always remember Cincinnati game a couple years ago where it ended in a tie. It was in London.
Yeah, I remember that. That's what screwed him.
Which cost him playoff berth.
Yeah, I think that's what messed him up mentally for like the rest. From that point on, he's never been the same. I agree with that. I don't think he's ever been the same from that point. Hey, man, this has been a dope show. Also, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Podcasts. Just search all Burgundy and go Errrything. Also, tweet us at ABG_Errrything and hit us up on IG at ABG_Errrything. Excuse me. And like our All Burgundy and Go Errrything Facebook page. Make sure you subscribe to our All Burgundy and Go Errrything YouTube channel. If you're watching it right now, hit the subscribe button, like this video as well. We want to make sure that you catch all of our vids. You know what I mean? Anyway, this has been a dope show. Appreciate Glenn for being on as always. Appreciate the homie Ray Jeezy, Mo. You know what I'm saying? They're not on today, but always appreciate them. Also, Lake Lewis Jr. for being on our show from Sports Journey. Errrything.com. Make sure you check out their website. Anyway, you've been listening to All Burgundy and Go Everything, powered by the Urban Sports Scene, the Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. Hopewell, Virginia for ages. You dig? Deuces. Hey, folks, we are out.